that. I don't think it's been explained yet. And as a result, Rosemary was injured, and it's caused all sorts of controversy on the internets from fellow independent wrestlers and really wrestlers, I guess, all in general, coming to Rosemary's defense and getting upset with Sexy Star about what she was doing and how she should be blackballed from being booked in other promotions. And
she really screwed the pooch on this one. She alienated herself from every single organization, and apparently the worst part is everybody loves Rosemary. Apparently Rosemary is the nicest person. She's got so many friends in the business, which that's awesome for her. But unfortunately for Sexy Star, if you're gonna shoot on somebody, I wouldn't do it on somebody like that. And I don't know what had happened. I know apparently a couple of the girls, as you said, went into business for themselves during the match. And there was a couple of issues where the spots were awkward and they weren't kind of bumping or they weren't selling for each other. And at the end, she locks in the straight arm bar, which anybody who, if you've ever trained jiu-jitsu or if you've watched a UFC, it doesn't take much to pop out an elbow, dislocated, tear a tricep, whatever it might be. So she put herself, Rosemary let herself get put in the straight arm bar, of course, for the finish of the match. Then Rosemary tapped, and then you could see Sexy Star pinch her knees and kind of pop her hips towards the ceiling and kind of crack back a couple times. So it takes, I could lock in an arm bar and pop out an arm in, 4 to 5 seconds tops. It doesn't take a lot. So it sucks to happen to Rosemary. I hope she's okay. Hope she's able to wrestle soon. Sexy Star came out and said something along the lines of she was bullied, she's sorry. You couldn't really understand because it was translated from her language. I think she's Spanish or Portuguese, I'm not sure. But she posted something that had to be translated, and it didn't really make sense, and she didn't explain anything either. So I don't know. It's a very poor situation. It reflects poorly on Sexy Star, and I hope Rosemary's back in the ring soon.
Yep. So I think that's as far as wrestling stories or news goes this week. I think that's the biggest thing that happened, and I thought the PWI 500 coming out and being released, at least the top 10, was an interesting conversation to have and discuss. So, was there anything else you wanted to get into? You want to talk about your fantasy football teams?
I want to talk about Willie Snead getting arrested for a DUI over the summer. Nobody talking about it, and then all of a sudden he gets suspended for 3 games. I got him in both my leagues sitting on the bench as what I like to call a lifesaver. Because, somebody's going to get hurt, and you're going to need somebody to come in there, fill your flex position, and have Drew Brees throw to him.
Pick up your boy Ted Ginn Jr.
TGJ,
my friend. He's a starter on that team in Drew Brees' offense.
He is.
Right?
Anybody who's a starter in Drew Brees' offense is going to catch 40 balls.
A little Michael Thomas action. You got Willie Snead out of the lineup.
Listen, you're a big fantasy sports guy. I'm a big fantasy sports guy. So we're gonna go off into a little bit of fantasy football discussion here. How many drafts have you had?
So far, I've done 2.
Do you feel like the running back position is the most difficult this year it's been?
It's tough, I think, because after the first 2 guys, which is David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell, I think you can kind of go in all sorts of different directions. I think LaShawn McCoy is highly rated. Melvin Gordon is highly rated. Then you start getting into the Devontae Freemans and the Jay Ajayis, and I'm sure Jordan Howards. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody in the range here, but I think those are the guys really that. So I think once you get past the top 2, any one of those guys could, go in. Like McCoy's always been a good fantasy performer, but I think he's had a history of injuries in the past, and now he's kind of around a while, right? Like he's been around for a little.
I just drafted him in the first round last week.
Yeah, no, I like him. I wasn't in the 2 drafts that I was in. It was they're both 12-team leagues, and I was in pick 12 and pick 10. I was in pick 12 in the 1 draft, and so by that point most guys were gone. So I took Ajayi because he was there at that time.
That's a great pick for 12. I'm a big fan of Ajayi.
I think it was Ajayi and Michael Thomas. I had the back-to-back. So. But then the other league I was in was a keeper league that I just joined, and I had the 3rd pick, which I would have ended up getting somebody really good, except that every team had kept 2 players from the year before, and it's a 12-team league, so there's 24 guys that were kept. So the best guys available when the draft started.
Randall Cobb.
The top 3 players available as far as rankings go when I was picking at 3 were Michael Thomas, Jordan Howard, and T.Y. Hilton. Those were the top 3 players available.
Michael Thomas went?
So I had 3rd pick, so Thomas went with the 1st pick, and then the 2nd pick took T.Y. Hilton. So I took Jordan Howard, which was fine because of the team that I inherited,
you inherit? That's how that works?
a team.
Okay.
Yeah, I inherited a team. The league's been in existence for about 10 years, apparently. One of the guys left the league / got kicked out. I inherited his team from last year. The two guys I kept were Jordy Nelson and Gronk. So I had a wide receiver and a tight end. I wanted to get a running back with my first pick in the actual draft.
Right.
But if Jordan Howard would have gone before me, I probably would have not taken a running back because all the other running backs that we just named are gone.
Yeah, okay.
McCoy was gone, Gordon was gone, Bell, Johnson, Majai was gone, Freeman was gone. Like, all those guys were not available. So I would have had to go like deep into the draft to like find a running back. So I probably would have taken, another receiver or somebody at that point. But they weren't. Luckily, Howard fell to me, and I just took him because I feel like he'll be okay.
Yeah, that's a safe bet. To me, like, if you're not getting a first round running back, round 2, 3, 4, I don't think I touch running backs because you have so many of these. I think since Ezekiel Elliott last year, like, so many of these rookies are so highly rated. Like, as the biggest Cowboys fan I know, I didn't touch Zeke as far as I could throw him in any of my drafts last year because I don't trust him. Not because I don't trust him as a player, but I just can't trust a rookie. So you have McCaffrey, Joe Mixon, Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, Leonard Fournette, all going like first round, early second round. I can't waste a pick on that.
People jump at those guys.
They go wild for those guys.
I think
I would take I would take an Isaiah Crowell over a rookie because Isaiah Crowell, you have a year's worth of body of work. He's going to have a better team this year, and he's a stable, solid runner.
Yeah, it's tough. Like if you're looking at, like, let's say you pick third in a standard draft with a no keeper, right? So let's say I picked third in that draft, and the first two picks were, let's say they were David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, right? At that point, I'm not taking like Gordon or McCoy third. I'm taking Antonio Brown or somebody, or Julio Jones, somebody like that. So if you're in a 12-team league and you take a receiver third, and now you go all the way down to 12 and you come all the way back, like, who's going to be there on that when you pick, like, again in the second round? Like, are you going to have a choice of one of those like second-tier guys? Like, so if I was in that position, I don't know what I would have done. Like, I don't know if I would have taken a running back or if I would have stuck with a receiver that maybe I really liked to have like two stud receivers, or maybe taking Gronk if he was still there or something like that. Like, I don't know what I would have done in that spot. I don't know. I have like 3 drafts left. One draft is I'm picking 10. So again, it's the same type of thing. I'm going to be late in the first round. I'm probably going to get somebody in that ilk.
You'll probably get to Jay. I think JHI is going to have a great year.
Yeah, I liked him.
And I think they're going to throw the ball more though because you have Jay Cutler and he's got Devonta Freeman and not Devonta Freeman. He's got Landry and Parker. Right?
Landry and Parker. Yeah.
So he's going to Jay Cutler if it's between handing the ball off or throwing a 50-50 ball, he's gonna throw the ball downfield. So I had the 5th pick this year, and with all due respect to Odell, it's tough for me. I'm sure it's tough for you to draft the Cowboy, right?
I usually don't.
I also don't draft the Giants. Plus, with his ankle, I didn't trust it, so it was up to me. And the top, it went David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Julio, and then I think Julio, AJ Green, believe it or not.
So Antonio Brown was still available at that point?
No, you're right. It was Julio and Antonio Brown. That's a back-to-back. So instead of taking Odell, I went LaShawn McCoy because I feel like he's the only player on Buffalo that's going to have a decent year. He's a workhorse. And then in the second and third round, and I was like, there's no good wide receivers left, so I went Dez and I got Amari Cooper. And I was lucky enough to get Isaiah Crowell in the 4th round, who, like I said, I trust. And then after that, I went best player available, and I got Dalvin Cook. He fell all the way to the 5th round. I know people are drafting him in like the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yeah, I think the other running back there is Latavius Murray. I'm not sure that anybody feels like he's going to dominate touches as far as the backfield is concerned there.
Right.
He was decent in Oakland when he was with the Raiders, and then he left there, went to Minnesota. I honestly kind of forgot where he went until the last few weeks.
I had no idea. Yeah, I'm with you.
So I don't think he's going to be a feature player there. I would assume that Cook is going to get a lot of touches or opportunities.
That's what everybody keeps saying. But like Joe Mixon, would you trust Joe Mixon?
No, because there's already. I mean, Jeremy Hill and Gio Bernard are already there, and then you have Mixon. In the grouping. I don't know who's going to get the carries, and quite frankly, I had Hill last year on a team, and you can't trust him.
So did I. That was terrible.
And when Bernard went down with an injury for the year, you figured, all right, well, Hill's going to step it up because he'll be the main guy, and he still wasn't trustworthy, I think. Right. I mean, sometimes I was forced to start him because I had no choice.
Yeah, 65 yards on 16 carries and maybe a touchdown.
Yeah, on a good week, right? So,
and then he had that one week he rushed for 200 yards, and you're like, oh, he's back, and then it's like, damn it.
Yeah, he's not consistent enough. So I don't know what to think of Mixon. on that team. That team seems like it's a little bit weird to me. I don't really know what to think of them. So
the only constants here, really, I mean, you have Tyler Eifert, you have AJ Green, and then you have Andy Dalton.
Big Red.
Big Red. So like they're going to be throwing the ball, So I mean
he's gonna try to get it to AJ Green as much as possible. I'm sure.
Yeah. What do you think of Leonard Fournette?
I don't know, because the Jaguars stink. Like that's the problem. So
I wouldn't be surprised if Brock Osweiler went to the Jaguars. By the way,
I mean, my friend suggested to me, which I thought made a lot of sense, which was Buffalo should trade Tyrod Taylor to Jacksonville, and he can play with Doug Marrone, who was in Buffalo as a coach for a while.
It's great booking.
And then Buffalo would just go with whoever they have, because I don't really know that they have a solution. It seems like they're trying to run Tyrod out of town at various points, and then he's in concussion protocol now. Like I'm not really sure they trust him.
He's a good quarterback.
He's
not
a
great quarterback, but if you build a solid team around him, it's what do they call it? A fire sale. Yeah. In Buffalo, they just
He was from the Rex regime there, right? Rex kind of had him and put him in as a starter for the 2 years that Rex was there, and now Rex is gone. So it's like he's got a new coach. They probably really don't believe in him. He's banged up a little bit. I don't know. My friend suggested that. I think that makes sense because obviously, like Bortles is who the hell knows with him in Jacksonville. So
Double B.
Yeah. So I don't know if I trust him or anybody. I had Allen Robinson on a team last year, thinking that Bortles was going to really break out and be like a stud, and it was hugely disappointing. So
speaking of Allen Robinson, I took him this year, but I took him in the 7th round. Like I'm not.
It's not bad value for him.
Right. I figured at that point I had already had Amari Cooper, Des Bryant. Allen Robinson couldn't hurt, but you have good guys on bad teams that are falling late. So all you need is somebody to get him the ball. What was the toughest decision you've had this year in drafting?
I
feel like I'm interviewing you. I like this.
You know what it is? So the first draft we did, we were in Kyle's league.
Yeah.
And 12 team, that's the one where I had the 12th pick, so I had the back-to-backs. The toughest decision, I think, or one of the toughest every year is when you take a quarterback, right? Do you jump on one early and try to get an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, right? I think are the consensus top 3 this year. Or do you keep filling up your skill positions, running backs, wide receivers, and a tight end, and then maybe wait on getting a second-tier quarterback, right? So you're looking at a guy like, I'm sure I'm forgetting guys, right? Like Mariota,
Cam
Russell
Newton.
Wilson.
Was Cam a 3rd tier?
He used to be first tier, right? And then now he's dropped significantly.
I feel like he'll have a good year too.
Cousins is a guy, right? What do you do with Andrew Luck, right? He's banged up. We don't know when he's coming in, when he's going to start. He definitely seems like he's not playing week 1. They don't know if it's going to be longer than that, but he's usually a pretty solid fantasy quarterback. I think that's the toughest thing.
No, actually, he sucked last year.
Last year he was rough. I admit that. I didn't have him, but he was not good last year. But typically he puts up like 4,000 yards and like 30 TDs and all those types of things. But that's the thing. So I waited a long time in Kyle's draft before I took quarterback. I don't even know what round it was, but it was definitely very late. And a lot of the top tier quarterbacks were all long gone by that point. And I wound up with a combination of Phil Rivers and Andy Dalton. So I'm hoping that the rest of the team is strong enough to
propel you.
To propel, and Rivers and Dalton can have their good weeks. It's just a matter of playing the right guy at the right time.
I'm trying to find what round you took him in. I am into the 9th round, and I still haven't seen you take him.
Yeah, I waited quite a long time. I think it was shortly after you were really looking because it was
the last pick in the 9th round.
Yeah. So I took him at that point. I was looking. I think Carr and Luck both went in that round as well, and I was
Dak did too.
And Dak, I wasn't taking Dak, but the other two, I was thinking of Carr or Luck. I'm like, maybe I'll take Luck, and then I'll just take somebody else as a backup and play the backup, and then roll with Luck after that. But he was taken, and then Carr was taken, and now I was looking at Rivers, Dalton, and I forget who the other options were at that stage. Maybe like a Newton or somebody was there. I didn't really want him, so that's what I ended up doing. The other draft I was in, I took quarterback a little earlier. That was the keeper league.
Right.
So Rodgers and Brady were both already kept. Breeze
Even
went
slimmer pickings. Yeah.
Breeze went pretty early, and I ended up taking one. I don't remember if it was the 4th or 5th round, but I ended up taking Russell Wilson there. So I wanted to get somebody kind of in that mid, second tier quarterback range.
I think he's fringe for a second.
He is. Yeah. A lot of people seem to think he's going to have a really good year with like some of the weapons that he has. Who knows? But I think I like him this year, so I feel comfortable with him. But that's probably the toughest decision for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was in the same boat. Ideally, what I like to do in my first 3 picks, I like to go wide receiver, running back, QB. And QB always 3rd pick, but you got to kind of see how the draft shakes out. I'm not